I am your host, Carrie Scollin, giving us different perspectives on where we are and where we want to go on our journey. Thanks for being here, and I look forward to spending some time with you. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another session of the Founder Series. I'm your host, Carrie Scollin, and I have a second-time guest coming in. Thank you, Teresa, for being here. We have a lot to discuss. We've got a lot that has changed and evolved since the last time you were on here. So, Teresa Walker, welcome. Come on in, and we're just going to get started.
Thanks, Carrie. Always so good to connect with you, my friend.
I love it. I love it. So I'm going to give everybody a little bit of a background of where you came from, how we met, and we're going to go from there. So you are an international speaker, keynote speaker. Yeah, you are.
I now have that title, yes.
Yes, you do. A published author, which you now have that title. Kolbe certified consultant, workshop facilitator. Look at all the things that I've got. It's going to take me ages to get through all this stuff. And your biggest, what you live by is make the most with your moments. So that is a big part of what you do. So how long have you been doing this? I know that we'll go back to where we started, but how long do you think you've been on this journey for what's brought you to where you are today?
I love when people ask me that question because the honest answer is my whole entire life.
Yeah.
Just now I get paid for it.
Yeah. Yes. So
and that was a struggle for me to get there.
Yes. That's a struggle for most of us who are in this type of industry is because we do it because it's a passion of ours and we love it and we know that it's important work. Sometimes it is hard to ask to be reciprocated for that. But we have to, because the more that we get out there and reach more people, the better we can provide, right? Our information that we have to share in the experiences. So
yeah, we talk about self-care and valuing ourselves that was a big hurdle for me to get over.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it takes the work to do it.
Yeah. And it takes practice, takes action, takes all the things that you
and that's where you and I connected.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we did. So that was quite a few years ago now. How crazy is that? And we were both kind of on the same path of, we knew we had a story to share and we were trying to figure out how to just bring it in so it was more impactful. Like, what were the points that were really important for us to get across and the message that we were trying to get across? So that's where you and I first met, and that's where I heard your story. And I feel like even in those years, you've come so far in what you provide to all of us, really. You've got different areas where you can go into more personal, and then you can go into the business side of it. And do you want to just walk us down a little bit of what that looks like for you and kind of where you started with that, with your story and where you are now? I'd love to hear more about that. I've seen it firsthand, but I want to hear it from in your words.
Yeah. So years ago, you and I met online. You were my first online connection, Carrie.
Yeah, me too.
And, it's the 3-minute story, how to craft your 3-minute story. And that was a huge challenge and growth area for me, and something that I really needed to conquer was to put all those thoughts, feelings, lessons, but to bridge that gap and give voice to it. That's a totally different level. And that was a challenge I was really trying to overcome. And so with that class, that's where I was able to create that and then start using it. And from there, again, I just kept sharing my story or parts of my story in a hopes to connect with others.
Right.
And just to see them that there's so much more than the challenges, the obstacles. And it was a big part of my own growth, is learning where I've come or what has happened is not who you are. You get to create where you want to go. And a big part of that is tapping into our own energy, advocating for ourselves, learning how to use our words to ask for what we want. But first, it starts with knowing what we want and working with ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Too often,
that's a big question that a lot of people ask, is they don't know what they want. So we had to get pretty clear on that too. Because that
was a great exercise to do that, is to take the time to look within and ask ourselves, what do we truly want?
Yeah.
And then I'm strength focused. So it's all about you're already doing so much so good to give ourselves credit for it.
Right.
It's just maybe we need a little bit of tweaking or a little bit of
Mm-hmm.
outside sourcing,
Mm-hmm.
and having to be able to rise and become vulnerable and ask for what we need. And that's hard. And I get it because I've lived it.
Yes.
Losing my husband in a workplace accident, raising two children, going through my own grief journey, wearing masks, and then diving deeper into my own grief and being vulnerable. It
Yeah.
was it was hard.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
Hindsight, lots of times you learn the lessons. I'm okay saying now I dealt with depression.
Yeah.
That big moments bring big feelings,
Right.
And so I think a lot of times in life, most people are going to go through the same things. It's just on a different timeline.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
and so my role is just to bring that awareness, sharing parts of my story, sharing my success to give
Mm-hmm.
inspiration to others, bring awareness, provide tools that we can make these tiny touches that really can create huge momentum in our own lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
you do a great job of, because there's being vulnerable, but there's also the lesson that you've learned when you're sharing your vulnerability, because I know a lot of people have a
Yeah.
hard time, and there's a real fine line there, because it can get to the point where um for people who are being vulnerable, it's hard for people to hear. But that's a good thing, because we bring people out of
And
their comfort zone a little bit, because there are hard stories to hear. But what's so valuable in that is the growth in that. And like you just said, you've seen that growth, and now you focus on the strengths, and that's what you help people with. And when you are in the workplaces where you're doing the keynote speakers, I know that a big one was in the mines, right? Because that's where your husband um, had the accident. So you're passionate about bringing that awareness in those areas. And it's not even just that. Like, you seem to focus on a lot, but you bring it
I
down. But
do.
you cover a lot, which is amazing. But you've got a lot of lived experience that you're gaining that knowledge from. So it's not you're just pulling it out of the air. You've lived it. You have practiced what you preach, I would say, and you've gone through the depths so that you can share with people. And it's coming from a very authentic, um, deep place that you really want to help others.
I do. And one of the greatest way to help others is by being authentic. So thank you. That's very important.
Mhm.
I do share from a vulnerable space, but I don't live there
Yeah,
anymore.
that's a
And
big
that's
difference.
that's a big
Mm,
difference.
yeah,
And it's key that I do share the hard times, the growth, and then the success,
yeah,
because that is reality. If we
yeah,
dig in and do the work, we will reach what we deem to be
right,
success for
right.
ourselves. And that's really important. Everyone has a different definition of success.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then when I go into workplaces, it seems this new buzzword I'm starting to hear more and more is workplace wellness. And I challenge and say workplace wellness has always been. It's just, I feel like before maybe it was we would send our people to human resources and reach out to our EAP program. And that's kind of like giving that power away again, is to an outside source. Now
Mm,
we're shifting back and giving the focus. What can we do within these walls?
right.
How can we be proactive with our people? And
Hmm.
that's where I am passionate about, because all of these tiny touches can have major impact, and be so proactive.
Hmm.
And we hear lots of times being referred to as the soft skills. I challenge that again. I think it's more the humanistic skills we need to get back to.
Mm,
And
yeah.
when we have people from different backgrounds, different places of origins, all coming together now to work as a team to get to a common goal. My goal is working with these teams is let's come in and provide a common foundation and a working language that we can grow and use from. That's
Hmm.
where I come in and facilitate that process. That's what I love
Hmm.
about Kolbe. It's
Yeah.
because it's simple. It's a
Yeah.
place to create a solid foundation, create a common language, and then we can grow with it, you
Hmm.
know?
And you're keeping it within the company. So you're all doing it together rather than separately too. I
Yeah.
mean, the Kolbe is done separately, of course, because that's, I mean, that's where you understand where your strengths and the way you kind of work. But when you bring that into a team environment, that's massive.
Well, and then we can have fun too because
Yeah,
I have a recreation background, so it has to be fun.
yeah.
It's just let you, there's learning and then there's the hands-on experience. And that is
Mhm.
so vital
Yeah.
to the process of actually, taking it to a next layer of understanding. And so I like to bring in those activities, have some fun and be like, okay, I get it cognitively, but now it's like I see it, feel it, do it, right?
And
Implement it.
and you can see the changes
Oh yeah.
probably very quickly when people start to understand themselves a little bit better and how they work and then how they work in a team environment. So that's kind of fun too, because sometimes we do things, we say things, and we may not know if it ever landed, but you are seeing actual direct evidence that this works.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking some of my past clients last year, one coming to mind was my accounting group. And I just went there Christmas time to take some treats and they've come leaps and bounds individually
It's amazing.
and as a team, as a
Yeah.
whole.
Yeah.
And to watch that growth,
Yeah.
to where they were and in 1 year, how much they've grown is super rewarding.
Well,
And
and
I
I'm
could
glad.
see it. I could see
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
They were just stuck in certain spots, so needed
Hmm.
some seeds, needed some support,
Hmm.
needed some accountability, and away
Yeah.
you go. You know,
Well, and I love that you mentioned that too, because it's like, yes, it makes a difference in the workplace environment, but it makes a difference individually into our own personal lives. I mean, we spend a lot of time, well, I don't because I work from home, but the people where you're going into these organizations, they spend a lot of time together.
yeah,
And but when they can take that and take it out of the workplace, and it enhances their personal lives as well, their relationships, when you learn more about it yourself, it automatically helps with communication, whatever it is in all those areas. It's a ripple effect that can make a big difference, not only in the workplace, but in our personal lives as well. I
absolutely. We're not robots. As
Yeah.
much as we think we leave home at home and work at work, we're
Hmm.
humans being and doing. And so
Hmm.
there's that overlap. So
Yeah.
anything good I can touch in the home life or anything positive I can bring in the workplace,
Yeah.
it's going to be a positive touch, vice versa,
Yeah.
right?
Perfect.
And again, it
And
comes down to choice, how we choose to apply it.
right. And it's starting those conversations too, right? I think when you became an author in the book, The Me I Didn't See,
Yeah.
and I reached out to you because I know you had a story, and it was really about us sharing our story in the hopes of helping somebody that may be going through something,
Mhm.
and starting conversations. So we touched on a lot of hard topics in volume one and volume two, but it was really about starting the conversation. So I would love to
Yeah.
know from your perspective, what made you say yes, and why did you want to write your story?
Well, it was timing
Hmm.
for sure, which is
Hmm.
huge in our lives.
Hmm.
And I think it was really important. I had a safe place to lay my things down and provide some peace with it
Hmm. Hmm.
and keep moving forward.
Hmm.
And there is the aspect that by sharing, it'll connect with someone else and possibly help them.
Right.
And so that right there was a yes, you
Driving,
know.
driving force. Yeah.
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 But there is challenges. There's vulnerability.
Yeah.
How is this going to be received?
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's just you need to, again, to go within, and if it makes your heart happy and it feels right and aligned, then that's all I needed, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I want to talk a little bit about that word aligned if we can.
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Yes. 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 Yeah.
because
Yeah.
um, I hear it more and more aligned, and people are like,
Yes.
well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And when I think about it, I've experienced this in my own life. I have witnessed it in friends and family's life. It's like when things come across our path where it almost seems and feels like it's too good,
Mm.
it's like too easy. That's alignment. But
Mm.
here's the thing is that our job is take a step towards it. It's like things are going to come and it's going to be like, oh, it's like right there. Yeah, it's right there. And now you have a choice.
Yeah.
What do you choose to do about it?
Mm-hmm.
And this is where the old stories, this is where fear, this is where outside voices can cause us not to make the choice that deep down we really want to make.
Right.
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 And so then that opportunity may pass. But that's where then it's like the lesson.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you didn't choose it that time. Okay, it's going to come across your path again
It
with a
will.
different space, a different face, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And whatever you want to call it, universe, whatever you call it, it's going to say, okay, here it is. What are we
Yeah.
going to do this time?
Yeah. Yes.
Right. And
So
it's like,
true.
have you done the work and grown? And like I say, my chapter is all about fear and faith. It's like, okay, is fear going to win in this moment?
Yeah.
Or are you going to recognize there may be some hesitation, there may be some doubt, but you're going to choose to take one step in faith towards and be open to the opportunities
Yeah.
that exist on the other side?
Absolutely. And
And
that's
I've,
scary. And that can be
oh,
scary for
it
sure.
brings up a whole bunch of stuff, right? But
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
like, that's my passion is make the most with your moments
Yeah.
because we only get so much time. And
Mm-hmm.
things can be scary, things can be hard, things can be challenged. That's life. We
Yeah.
have lessons. Everyone's lessons are different.
Mm-hmm.
Go within, get quiet, tap into your strengths, and what do you want to create and why? And be real about what are you scared of? Okay,
Yeah.
we can work with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
I
know, we can shine
love
some
that.
light there.
Absolutely. And there's so many times where you don't take that opportunity. And like you said, it will come back around. Like I
Yep.
don't want anyone to be scared that
No.
I missed out. Oh my gosh, I'm never going to have that chance again. If it was meant for you, I do believe it comes back around and then
Yeah.
it taps you a little bit harder. And it's really, to me, it's about trusting yourself. And that's where it comes back to building that trust up within yourself to make those decisions and knowing that you're going to be okay either way. I
Well,
think that was a big,
and growing our confidence too is
yeah.
like to be able to voice, I have questions, I have
Mm-hmm.
concerns,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to have those conversations, you know, communication, it's huge. It's
Yeah,
such a vast area.
it
And a lot
is.
of it begins with self. You know,
Yeah,
we get stuck between that head and heart, and there's a gap. How do we give our voice and use our words, right?
so true. Yeah,
That's a skill that continually needs to be developed.
yes, it does. It needs to be practiced.
Absolutely.
So much of this needs is a practice, and you gain your confidence by doing it, not by
Yeah.
waiting and waiting until you think you're confident enough to do it. You get more confident the more you do it. I've
Well, and
certainly learned
honestly,
that.
that's where I was at a space and time in my life many years ago is I got to the point where I just felt like life was passing me by.
Yeah,
I was watching my friends and family live life and I
yeah,
was sitting stuck.
yeah,
And it was like, you got to get going. What do
yeah,
you want? You've
yeah,
got to get to the doing. What's the
yeah,
action to take?
yeah,
And I'm a leaper.
yeah.
And so I've learned, I have learned the value of the process.
Right.
You know, I have learned how to, I still live with that zest for life.
Yeah,
I understand there's such value in the process.
yeah,
And I don't do highs and lows and peaks and valleys.
right.
I'm much more consistent.
Yeah.
And I love that I've learned the value of that.
You're not skipping over things to try and get to the next without learning the lesson in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's huge.
Yeah, it is huge.
And you
So,
have to go through things to get to them.
yes, and you got to take leaps
Yeah.
that scare the crap out of you. So
Yeah.
I want to know, so what is scaring you right now and where are you going? Like where is Teresa 2.0, 3.0, 5.0? Where are we going? Where do you see yourself? Where do you want to be?
Uh,
Let's
I
go
want,
there.
yeah, I want to be on those stages,
Yeah.
spreading my story of struggle to success,
Hmm.
sharing with people. They have so much power within
Hmm.
that fear is a common space,
Hmm.
and to take away its power and being proactive is so
Mm-hmm.
important.
Mm-hmm.
The communities we're connected with provide so much value, information, resources, teamwork,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for me to do that, I need to grow.
Yeah.
Last fall, I had a wonderful opportunity to be a part of a health and safety day, and virtually it reached out across parts of Canada, US, and to their factory in Chile.
Yeah.
And
That's amazing.
so it's like, hey, what's my next step is to keep growing and going. And
Yeah.
so I have to get a little uncomfortable
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
because I really don't like to be in the spotlight. That has been an area
Yeah.
for me to grow in,
Yeah.
is that
Yeah.
to keep reminding myself why I want to do this.
Yeah.
And it is because I want people to feel seen, heard, and valued. And that
Yeah.
is why. And I have tools, resources that can provide connection for themselves, for their families, for their workplaces. And it's time for me just to say, here I am, and how
Yeah.
can I be of service?
Yeah.
So,
And to know your value and what you
yeah,
bring and what that can do for individuals,
it's my job,
companies.
it's
Yeah.
my career. It's
Yes.
also, I get to be so fortunate because it's my passion.
Right.
And I wouldn't want it any other way. So,
Yes.
as hard
Yeah.
as it has been at times to remind myself, this is what you want.
Yeah.
Get up and get going and do.
Yes. Yeah. Because,
So,
I mean, we've heard it a million times. The only thing that's holding us back is us.
mhm.
And when you can step out of that and go, nothing's holding me back.
Well,
And
and
I'm
the
doing what
stories that
I, yeah.
the
Yeah.
stories we keep telling ourselves,
Totally.
that it doesn't go away.
Yeah.
Um, I still have to work sometimes harder than I would like.
Yeah.
And it's just, but it's also the first thing I do is remind myself how far I've come.
Yes. And
Right.
great
And
reminder.
so,
Yeah.
yeah,
Great reminder. And
yeah,
to like you mentioned at the beginning, like you focus on your strengths. What am I
yeah.
good at? Like we tend to focus on what we're not good at or focus on what we don't have. And it's like, turn that around. What am I good at? And look at all I have. But
And
sometimes it
yeah.
takes, yeah,
And when things start to feel overwhelming or spinning, or sometimes I'll get like, oh gosh, what did I get myself into now?
yes, yeah,
It's taking that pause and go, okay, let's get back to my basics here. What do I
yeah,
know? What
yeah.
what exists? What's my
Hmm.
next step? I
Hmm.
only have to do one step at a time. I don't have to
Yes,
try and conquer it all at once. So a
yes.
lot of that self-talk, it's yeah, we have the tools, we have the resources, but it's the doing, it's the
Hmm.
action,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so, yeah,
It's taking that first step for sure. And
the first
that's,
step is often the hardest.
yeah. And we
And
don't need
then,
to know the next one. We just got to take
yeah,
that first one. Yeah,
well, and we create the momentum,
yeah,
right? And then
absolutely.
there's always going to be the cha-cha. I like to
Mm,
dance. And it's
yes.
like, and learning that, okay, be whimsical about it. I cha-cha. Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
I am not back there. I'm only two steps back. Okay,
Right,
let's get
right.
going.
Yeah, yeah. And that,
Yeah.
so I mean, for you, Teresa, your message and where you're going, I see no end to that. Like I see it just because when people experience what you have to share, you take them on a journey. I've heard you speak. The journey is I don't even know what the word is. It's you put us in the moment, and then your whole thing is make the most with the moment. You're making the most of every moment you've got, but you allow us to go on that journey with you
Mhm.
in such a way that when you talk about being seen, being heard, you actually hold us because we're uncomfortable when we're listening to you speak and share your story. And there's something really, really valuable about that. It's very, as a speaker, I think it's something that we all try to do to connect with our people. But you seem to hold that space for us in the sharing of your story. And I think that's a gift. That's a gift that needs to be heard by the entire world. So I'm just telling you, I'm cheering you on. I don't hope, I know that this is going to go. especially with the people that have already heard you and these workplaces that I think you're making a massive difference just in maybe, and it's just shifting that perspective just a tiny bit, because that's really all that needs to be done is for us to just take a look and then shift and look at it from a different perspective. And you do that very well. So if there's something that you would like to leave with.
Thank you. That's humbling to hear. It honors my journey. So that's just what I aspired to do.
And that's what you're doing. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
That you do that. I really do. It's not something that's easy, but you are making a difference. And I think that is what my biggest reason for doing what I do is giving women like you a platform to share these stories, to make sure that they get out to whoever needs to hear them at the time. And I believe that we all make a bigger difference when we're doing it together. So collaboration is something that's extremely important to me. And I don't believe in the competition. I believe that we are all better together. And I think that's what you also bring when you go into those workplaces. You're bringing that. There's a culture aspect to that as well of doing it together and getting deep. And some of those places might not like to get a little deeper, but you know what? It shows them who they are as well. You're holding up a mirror to them as well. And that's like I said, I know I've used the word gift a few times, but I do believe you have a gift, and I just hope everybody gets a chance to hear you speak. So
thank you, Carrie. I
You're
so appreciate you and our friendship and our journey together. And I look forward to co-creating with you. Who knows what in the future?
We don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be great.
But it's a lot of fun. And I think that's so important, is to keep the fun in life.
Yeah,
you know,
I agree.
That's always been a goal of mine, is there's going to be things we have to do. We may not like it, but find some fun in it and carry on.
Absolutely. And you bring that. Yes.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for being here. If there's any last words you want to say before we go off, what your main message is, I always love that little thing that you say.
Oh, yes.
So you can end with that.
And I've started, when I raised my children, my role was a stay-at-home mom, and it was very important. I took my job very seriously, and I would ask my kids to tuck them into bed at night, get them put their hand to heart and ask, just take a deep breath, close your eyes and ask, is my heart happy? And for a long time, I didn't ask myself that. And I'm really, really, every night I lay down and I say out loud, is my heart happy? And just listen to what comes.
Yeah.
And that right there, if we just did that, that is a great starting point.
Yes.
And just listen what comes from within.
Yeah.
And we always have a choice. What do you want to do with it?
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but it is doable.
Yes. Yeah. There is a way. And I love that. That's a great place to start. And that's a great place to end, because I do that because of you. I ask myself that a lot. So I appreciate that you shared that. I think you shared that very early on in our friendship. I've never forgotten it, because I think it's just a practice that we can all do. And it's just a habit with me now.
I'm so happy to hear that.
I know. I love it. It's a habit.
I love that.
Yeah.
Because too often we give our power to everyone else, and it's just but am I happy? Because my happiness matters.
It does matter.
And then what am I going to do about it?
Yes.
And maybe we need some tools. Maybe we need some resources. Okay. Because I too matter.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Well, thank you. You do matter. So thank you so much for being here. I've loved our conversation. I'm sure you're going to be a third time guest on my podcast again, because your growth is always expanding and always evolving. And I love to watch. I love to have been a witness to your journey. And I'm just so happy to be a part of it and to have you as my friend. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Carrie, and vice versa. I am so proud of you and all that you create and do.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
it's great to be a part of, and same thing, it's great to witness, and growth is what we're here to do. We're here to grow.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
We're walking our talk, I hope,
So,
most of the time.
yeah. And that's
Yeah.
where you need the support, because
Yes,
in the
absolutely.
new year, I reached out to you and said, hey, I need a conversation. And
Yeah.
you're like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
You know?
That the
And
importance of
that's,
community, 100%.
yeah, and
Holy.
just being able to stand up and me reaching out and saying, hey, I need to talk. As leadership, that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
I don't know everything.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
pretend to.
Yeah.
So be vulnerable and reach out.
Yes. And yeah, and ask for help.
Yeah.
Like, it's, to me, that's the biggest sign of strength, is when you can reach out and go, I need a bit of help. Oh,
Well, and so often we know within, it's just we need to talk it through in a safe
yes.
space.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Yep. And we definitely are able to do that for each other. And sometimes it's a little hard to hear, but I love that. I don't want someone to just tell me what they think I need to hear. I think they need to tell me sorry, how was that? Yeah. Don't tell me what you think I want to hear. Tell me what you think I need to hear. And that's a big difference when you're finding a confidant or somebody to kind of help you through some of the rough times. And we've definitely done that for each other. So I appreciate that as well. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. And stay tuned, because there will be another one coming up, I'm sure. Thanks,
Okay.
Teresa.
Bye. Take care, Carrie.
Bye.